Hello and welcome to another planning video. It is February 1st and my name is Adrina. I'm the owner and accountant here at Accounting by Adrina, and I just like to walk you through kind of like how I think about and approach a new month. Bookkeeping is on a monthly type cycle. There's a lot of things that do happen like on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, but I do like to think of bookkeeping as a whole in terms of a whole month. Now, I'm just kind of reflecting here on January, and it was a very busy month at Accounting by Adrina. And you know, it's so funny because it seems like every January the weeks kind of fly by, but the days are super long. There's a lot of work packed into one day. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my approach as I was leading up to January, because it is consistently the busiest month in my business. And so I wanted to kind of like walk you through a little bit of how I thought about January prior to January. So knowing that this is the busiest month for all of my clients, it's calendar year end, it's 1099s, it's all the things, and I just made it a point to not add anything additional to my plate. So this meant that I wasn't planning any extra meetings if they were not completely and entirely necessary. So I tried to do as many meetings as I could leading up to January with some of my clients and take care of those things that needed to be taken care of. I also made sure to under-promise to as many people as I could, knowing that my capacity for anything beyond client work would be super limited. This also meant that I had to work on some of the weekends, which isn't something that I normally do or normally add into my schedule. I like to reserve the weekends to just rest and spend time with loved ones and prep for the weeks to come. So because of that, my schedule is a little bit thrown off. And in this video, I'm kind of like looking back at January thinking like, okay, what happened? What do I need to do to prepare for February? It was a lot of work. And that's just something that I have to keep in mind every year, that January is just going to be really busy. So in previous years, I would have just accepted like the busyness as it came and then just become a ball of stress at the end of it all. And so knowing that I didn't want to end up in that state of mind, I was certainly more proactive as I was approaching January. So I do say that this has certainly paid off in the long run, as I know that like not only have I managed my own expectations, but I also was able to manage those of my clients. And even still, with all of this planning leading up to January, there were still some hiccups along the way. You know, like I said, I worked on the weekends, which I don't normally like to do. And, you know, of course, there's like those moments where you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about client work, or did I take care of that one thing that I said I was going to take care of? And of course, there's a few minor breakdowns along the way, which, you know, can be expected with this type of busyness. But I do feel overall that there is moving forward, so I'll continue to keep that top of mind as I approach January. Now, first things first, when I think about kind of like planning for the month, I also want to think in terms of like, what are some of the goals that I have? So what I did this month is on the left side, I wrote down what my movement goals were each week and what my content goals were. Instead of just saying like, I want to do a YouTube video every week or every other week, I actually wrote down the specific YouTube videos that I wanted to do. So I have on Asana, kind of like in my YouTube board, I have a column that is just dedicated to kind of like brainstorm video ideas. And I was just thinking in terms of what are some of the video ideas that I think would be engaging. I haven't looked at my analytics, so I'm not completely sure about that yet. I haven't looked at it in detail. I do look at it occasionally, maybe once a month or so, but I generally just like to do what I think I'm getting a lot of questions about in the comments section on my YouTube videos. So I like to just address those questions specifically. I do feel when it comes to movement that I did reach a lot of goals in January, except for the fact that I didn't go swimming. So I have a goal of going swimming once a week, and I just didn't have the extra time and flexibility to go to the gym, go swimming, shower, all that stuff. It just takes a good chunk of the day that I just couldn't give up. But I have been walking more frequently, which I'm really excited about, and I want to keep that up. I've been using my standing desk more and using the treadmill desk as as well. So those I'm feeling pretty confident about. Like I said, we went over content. And then my next thing that I'm going to be thinking about is the retreat. So every quarter I want to do a kind of like business retreat where I think in terms of like how did the last quarter go and what's coming up for the next quarter, and just kind of map out some goals. I kind of did a rough brainstorm at the end of December of like each quarter and kind of like what my goals are. So I'd like to flesh that out a little bit more in this business retreat. I also want to add in a few more kind of like goals that I have for myself as far as like education and just making sure that I'm attending webinars that I sign up for, and also taking myself on an artist date. So I'm planning that out onto my calendar. February, there's also Valentine's Day and there's also Super Bowl Sunday. So making sure that I'm mapping that out. And I also wanted to mention that I recently signed up for Home Chef. So I've been doing kind of like one big box each month. And so I think you saw that earlier where I was looking at kind of like the meals that were coming up. I think that's going to happen this weekend. So I wanted to make sure that that was on my calendar so I don't also order groceries that same week, because I did that once before and that was a lot of food that I had to manage. So yeah, if you have any of those meal box subscriptions, here's your reminder to make sure that you're skipping the week or that you're planning it out, because otherwise they're going to send you just whatever they want to send you. And next, I also signed up for a kind of like nutrition group coaching program. So those meetings are on Mondays, late afternoon. So I'm really excited about that to get my nutrition back up. And so mapping those out on my calendar as well. The last big thing that I will say about the month of February for myself is I have something a little bit unusual happening, and I have a nonprofit client going through an annual audit. So this is kind of like a typical thing that a lot of nonprofits go through every year, but this is my first time going through that audit with them. And so I earmarked 2 weeks out of the month where I am just going to be fully dedicated to making sure that I'm, kind of like responding to those audit requests as they come through. So that's about it for me today. Thank you so much for following along, and I will see you guys in my next video.